LSU still has a collection of players with 2019 national championship rings. They may be getting one and actually have officially gotten one from the 2018 national championship game via Clemson. We got Lon Philip Sullivan on the line from LSU Odyssey to discuss the transfer of inside linebacker Mike Jones to the Bayou and also talk up Brian Thomas. Lon, how you doing today?
We're doing great, Mark. How about you, my man?
I'm good. I am good. So it's been rumored for a number of days. You guys were all over it and just made official in the last couple hours that Mike Jones, who scarfed up a couple interceptions this past season, is coming your way.
Yes, the man who picked off Justin Fields in the CFP, a game that obviously they were losing by that point. The man who picked off Syracuse had a few forced fumbles, a few PDs over the season. Understudy to Isaiah Simmons, understudy to Trenton Simpson. Mike Jones Jr. hasn't gotten a lot of looks, gotten a lot of love at Clemson, but man, I believe he's going to get a huge ton of love at LSU. Blake Baker, the linebackers coach, loved what he saw facing him in the ACC last year. He's more of a hybrid strong safety linebacker. I will say that. He's not a straight up linebacker, but he does have a lack of size and a lack of girth, but at the same time, there is a chance under strength and conditioning coach Tommy Moffitt to girth him up, to thicken Mike Jones Jr. I believe he has the athletic skill set to take it to the top. This is a guy with from an NFL family. His father played 5 years in the NFL. Mike Jones knows what it takes. I believe LSU is the perfect stop for him. He's immediately eligible. Everything made sense. We had a source from inside LSU say, this is a guy I know, Blaker. We call him Coach Blaker. Coach Blake Baker. This is going to be a guy that Coach Blaker is going to love. And we put him on the list. And then within a few hours, it was make this guy a confirmed LSU target because we know that this is going to work. And then things moved really quickly from there. And here he is. It's official. Mike Jones Jr. is going to be at LSU this season. We really needed a linebacker, especially we needed speed at the linebacker position. That's what he's going to bring.
He missed 4 games this past year, played in 9, and 26 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, half a sack, the 2 picks we discussed, back of the end zone play against Ohio State and Justin Fields, and a interception, as you mentioned, against Syracuse, and was all around the football and forcing fumbles. Man, 4 in 9 games is a ton. And if you go back 1 year, he had 3 tackles for loss and 18 total tackles for the Clemson Tigers in the season, which they met LSU in the national championship game. So Mike Jones, not any kind of All-American type player, but a very serviceable player, a guy that was good enough to start for a top 3 to 4 team in the nation on a number of occasions the last 2 seasons. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, breaking it down with Lon Philip Sullivan from LSU Odyssey. Head on over there for LSU football coverage. And, of course, like the videos right here and share them out on social media. So I think of it this way. If you enjoy the content, others will as well. Don't be selfish. Share the videos. All right. Brian Thomas, 2 national signing days slipped by us, and he didn't sign at that point. But what ends well is all well, as Brian Thomas signs on the dotted line as the 13th rated wide receiver according to the 247 Sports Composite.
Yeah, I feel he's only second behind JoJo Earl as the best of the 2021 class. This guy is untouchable. 6'4", he's a skyscraper, aerial assassin, aerial autonomy ambassador. This guy, he goes up above. You can't even come close. He's going to be a great jump ball receiver. I compare him a little bit to Terrace Marshall, but I also feel that he's thick in the core, strong enough that he reminds me a lot of Jamar Chase as well. His yards after catch is unreal. I think it was last year he had 17.9 yards. It was 21.2 yards per catch. This guy is outrageous. He had a 20 touchdown season as well, over 1,700 yards. That's where I'm getting that mixed up. This year, a little bit below his standards, but that was because Walker had a really rough year. Brian was basically having to go out there and do it all alone, just complete one-man show. and he still pulled off some unbelievable numbers. But it's more than the numbers. This kid has – you didn't see any bravado in his recruitment. You didn't see any nonstop look at me, beating of the chest, his name all in glittering lights. The only time there was ever any drama or any craziness was all due to his father and due to him getting involved in his son's recruitment. Other than that, Brian, he was such a quiet kid, such a humble kid. And he's the type of character that LSU strives to recruit, strives to assign. And, missing a guy like Brian Thomas specifically to go to Texas A&M or to Alabama would have been a catastrophe, in my opinion. LSU, if they want to continue what they're doing in the passing game, need these type of players. They can't afford to miss a guy like this from their own backyard, especially when you lose a talent like JoJo Earl to Alabama. You can't miss a guy like Brian Thomas. I heard a lot of LSU fans say, oh, we don't need Brian Thomas. Oh, well, he's the cherry on top. No. Deion Smith is unbelievable. Chris Hilton Jr. is unbelievable. Jack Besh is unbelievable. But what Brian Thomas Jr. brings is something that is just that it factor, that intangible, where you give him the ball anywhere on the field and he can score. JoJo Earl was just like that. We lost that guy. We had to replace that playmaking. And, bringing him in was big time. Just unbelievable from Coach Orgeron to seal the deal. This is another guy that was rumored to be going elsewhere, and Coach O defied that. Sage Ryan was supposed to be going to Alabama. LSU Odyssey knew he wasn't going to Alabama. Coach Orgeron knew he wasn't going to Alabama. He was staying home. Coach O made sure of that. Mason Smith, he made sure of that. It's just one guy after another. And Brian Thomas Jr., he really seals and caps the 2021 class in an extremely positive, ultra-confident light. LSU didn't get every single need on the bar there with 2021. We had some misses. Race John Davis was a tragedy. Tristan Lee, it is what it is. JoJo Earl, to me, was a big, big stab in the heart. But to every one of those misses, there was an answer. The day JoJo Earl flipped to Alabama, what did Orgeron do? What was his response? He flipped Malik Neighbors from Mississippi State to stay home to LSU. What was his response when the Tristan Lee debacle happened? That weekend, he flipped Kimo Macchianoli from Florida State to LSU offensive tackle. There has always been one just a nonstop response here. Even Nathaniel Wiggins, when he flipped to Clemson, Demarius McGee corner came right into the picture. There was always a response with this staff, and they had a hell of a 2021 staff against, Title IX scandal, against, NCAA violations, some minor violations of a witch hunt ilk. There's just a lot of distractions and a really horrible championship defense this year. But throughout it all, Orgeron and his guys stayed the course, and they hauled in the number 3 national class. What an amazing accomplishment.
Yes, LSU caps it off with Mike Jones, or with Brian Thomas, I should say, at wide receiver, coming into the fold here after National Signing Day, as Lon has outlined. 13th rated, that's the composite. Number 9, according to 247 Sports, or Rivals, and some others, maybe ESPN. Not as high on Brian Thomas, but Lon tells us the number 2 wide receiver in the country, according to his eyes.